Welcome to the NLP UK podcast. I'm Callie Fraser.
And I'm Steve Kay.
So today we want to talk about how to best cope with setbacks when things aren't going the way that you want them to go. So we're sitting in the studio and it's January. So I drove here today, pouring rain. There's a storm outside. Took me probably half an hour more than it would normally take me. There's a great example of a day-to-day setback that we all go through. And it doesn't feel good when you're in the midst of it. Now, that's something quite small, but there's lots of setbacks that us human beings go through. Bills go up, council tax go up, car renewal goes up, your mortgage rate goes up. How do we cope when all of those external things are going on? So what do you think, Steve?
I think you've got to do something about it. So, for example, my AA bill went up 2 years ago, and it went up from like £20 a month to £30 a month. And they'd not contacted me and said, oh, your bills are going up. And I hadn't really noticed it until I looked at some bank statements and then realized, oh, I'm paying a lot more for the AA. But I didn't have a chance to, I didn't make time to ring up and go through the call center stuff and deal with that. But yesterday, I got an advert from Green Flag and thought, I know, I'm going to ring the AA. I've got an hour. But that hour will save me, I don't know, 150 quid over a year. And they knocked me £10 off straight away. So little things like that can help.
So it's just about taking some form of action. But what about when something is so out of your control that there's nothing you can do about it?
Well, can we just go back to things that maybe are in our control? So a few years ago, when we used a telemarketer called Sally, she phoned me up and said, left me a message. I was out training, left me a message I picked up at break time. She said, hello, it's Sally here. How are you? I'm working with you today, working with Quality Culture. I just wanted to let you know that I've spoken to so-and-so Borough Council, and they've said that the leadership programs, the 3 leadership programs, they're going to have to be put back or maybe even cancelled because they've had some redundancies. And the old me would have kind of gone, ah. But I knew about asking myself about a question. I knew about asking that. So I just said to myself, how can I improve the situation? And it sort of bubbled up inside me, and I'd still got some of the coffee break left. So I typed out an email. Dear Joe, I understand that you're looking at reducing costs for your programs. I've got some really good ideas about how we could do that. Do you want to get back in touch with me? And sure enough, she did. And I went to see her. She said, oh, well, we're not actually thinking of cancelling them. But, we've got to be careful with having these redundancies. But I went into that email with a totally different approach just because I'd asked myself a better question. How can I improve the situation? And I found that changed my state straight away.
So when your state's different, you'll take different actions, won't you?
I suppose that is bang on. Yeah, when my state's different, Zig Ziglar used to say, your attitude improves your altitude, in an American voice, but it's quite good. It's good stuff. Yeah. So if we can change our state, we can change the whole lens as we look at the world and the problem from.
And when things are going wrong, it can be very easy to drop into that negative state.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, dead easy to drop into that because we've got this negativity bias that amplifies what we perceive as threats, and we overemphasize those compared to everything else we've got. But just asking yourself a better question, like, how can I improve the situation, really, really does help.
And it takes some effort, doesn't it?
In fact, that's my tip of the day.
Yeah. It takes some effort to not do the negative thing. It's easy to do the negative thing.
Of course it is.
It takes zero effort, but it does take a little bit of effort to be more positive and ask those better questions. You've got to think about it. You've got to think differently. You've got to behave differently. And that does take a bit of
I think it all comes down to personal responsibility, and I'm sure we'll talk more about personal responsibility in future podcasts. But if you're in a situation where your gas goes up by 5%, your electricity goes up by 5%, your mortgage goes up, something else goes up, something else happens, there's a pay freeze at work. There's nothing you can do to influence those things. But what you can do is influence your response to it. And that might be by, right, well, how can I improve the situation? Well, I could stop having coffee on the way to work. That's £3 a day. That's whatever. Or I could look for a new job, or I could. By the way, did you know some research showed that we did that people who came on the NLP Practitioner course last year, those in work, improved their salaries by something like 14%.
That's a big jump.
That's a big jump. So just by coming on the course, they improved their salary by, I think it's like if you're on 40 grand, it pushed you up by 5 grand. So that's like twice as much return in that year as the cost of the course. So just by making that decision. But it's all about, you're either in control, you're either taking responsibility or you're not. And once you start taking responsibility, you're in a much better, stronger position than you are if you're like at the mercy of events that are going on around you.
And I think that's one of the big things. Once you start taking that personal responsibility, and it can feel really difficult because you think there's nothing that you can do. And sometimes there isn't. But when we change how we think about things, when we change our attitude, it feels different. And you start to see potential ways that you can solve problems that you'd never thought about before. I know that that was definitely the case when I started my NLP journey. I started seeing things so differently, and things that I thought were beyond my control, and some of them absolutely were. I couldn't change those, but I could change other things that made those easier.
Do you know what my wife does? She goes, lucky space, when she's trying to find a car. She does. She drives around. She goes, lucky space, and then she sees one and dives in there. And by saying lucky space, she gets the space.
There you go.
I know, it works.
You know, ultimately, there are going to be things in life that kind of sideswipe us, because that is just life. You know, it happens to me, it happens to Steve. So I think there's also something about almost anticipating that might happen.
I found that whenever I had a big swipe at life, that I always grew after it.
Yeah.
I know if a relationship finished and, you know, it was I was the one who was kind of, you know, done. Then I would be, what's that script? I got time and she got freedom, from the song. So anytime I got time and she got freedom, I then like pulled myself together and like, right, you know, what am I going to do? I know I'm going to do that college course that I've been thinking about for the last year. I'm going to go to night school and do that, or I'm going to apply for a different job. Or so anytime I had setbacks, but it all comes down to being responsible, because there are so many things going around us we can't do anything about. But what we can do is things that are in our control, like we can ask ourselves better questions. We can get a more of a positive attitude. Now, positive attitude won't cure everything, but it certainly helps with lots of stuff, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So our tip for today is ask yourself better questions, like how can I improve the situation? What result do I want? And who can help me?
Yeah. You know, us human beings quite often think we've got to do it all on our own. But, you know, if you've got good people around you, ask for that help. People like to help other people. It's a great feeling when you've done something that will support someone else. So reach out for that help if that's what is going to give you what you need. So Steve,
it's goodbye from me.
It is, and it's goodbye from me, and we'll see you next time on our next podcast.
See you soon.